Ayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihare Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradare Jaya Girivaradare Jayo Yashodanandana Jayo Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachare Jaya Kunja Vihare Jaya Kunja Vihare Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jagannath Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Janitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Om Yes. Yes, you can just, this is simpler. It is simple.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for attending this session this evening with Prabhuji, and we have two other devotees here. So Prabhuji's name is Ananda Caitanya Prabhu. So he is a disciple of His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. He is from Hungary, Budapest. So Prabhuji grew up in a family of Krishna conscious devotees. Prabhuji joined ISKCON in 2002 while he was at university, and he became a brahmachari in 2006 after graduating in economics from Cambridge and working in banking for a year and a half. And he served at Bhaktivedanta Manor, London for 10 years in various capacities, including leading book distribution, pujari management, and developing the educational offering of the temple. He then moved to Budapest, Hungary in 2016. Prabhuji's main services include book distribution, ashrama leader and management. He also serves as a co-editor for His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. So this evening we have gathered here to learn from Prabhuji about the most wonderful book in ISKCON that I have ever seen. Of course, Prabhupada's books are the most wonderful, but the books written by the contemporary Maharajas, they are equally wonderful. Especially the introduction to this book we are going to see, Navavraja Mahima. So the quality of the book itself will attract you, and it will make you read. So recently I heard ISKCON does not suffer from book distribution, but ISKCON suffers from reading books. So we should take it very seriously, and not only just distribute books, but we should all read books very seriously. So this book, the first time I saw a couple of weeks ago when I attended Sadhu Sangha retreat in Salt Lake City, when I was going through the content and pages of this book, it was so mesmerizing that there are 1,000+ pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna in Vrindavana, and the quality of the book is very rich. It really makes you read attentively, and it can also be given as a gift to your relatives, friends, and let's say you're attending some housewarming or something. This is a great book to gift to your friends and relatives. So we'll learn more from Prabhuji about this book, Navavraja Mahima, and Prabhuji will share Vraja Prema with all of us. Okay, so before Prabhuji starts, let's welcome Prabhuji and his two associates by loudly chanting Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much to Prabhu for the introduction, and to everyone for coming this evening. We're in Seattle. It's an IT hub. Microsoft, the home of Microsoft. Which are the big companies? Amazon is based here. This is the headquarters. So huge companies. Anyway, it's a busy environment. It's a busy atmosphere. So I'm sure everyone's lives are packed full of so many responsibilities and duties. But you've come here this evening, so we really appreciate your attendance. So we are speaking today essentially about the glories of Vraj, the glories of Vrindavan. So in the Krishna consciousness movement, first of all, who's a regular here to the temple? Who comes here regularly? Yeah. Okay, a few. Wonderful, very nice. And who's chanting on a daily basis, chanting Hare Krishna on a daily basis? Okay, so also quite a few. Okay, that's good. So we have a seasoned audience, so I know where to pitch the talk. Online also. Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So many devotees online also. I'm just wondering if the remote is working. So today the topic is basically the glories of Vraj, and this is really what the book is about. So the book that we're presenting today is called Nava Vraj Mahima, the glories of Vrindavan. And this is our goal in Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The supremost goal, the topmost attainment is Vrindavan. And there are various rules and regulations in Krishna consciousness. We hear classes on many different topics. We talk in our movement a lot about anartha nivriti, the need to give up bad habits, material desires, all things which are unwanted, all of those things which get in the way of us and Krishna. So we talk a lot about the things that we need to remove from the heart. But one thing that maybe we sometimes don't speak so much about is what we want to install or implant into the heart. What do we want to acquire? What do we want to attain? So the more we hear, read and meditate on what is desirable, the more those things enter into the heart and also push out those things which are unwanted. So some effort to remove the unwanted habits has to be there. That's obvious. You know, for example, if you're addicted to coffee, and then there's some efforts that you need to make in order to take out the coffee habit. But at the same time, what makes it much easier is if there is some element of a higher taste in the heart and mind. So if a devotee has some aspiration for something higher, then it's easier to get rid of or reject the lower taste in pursuance of the higher taste. And what is the highest taste? The highest taste is in Vrindavan. So these books are really talking, and today's talk will be based around Vrindavan. And hearing about Vrindavan, hearing about Krishna's name, his form, his qualities, his abode, his associates, and his pastimes. Hearing about these topics, it gradually implants a desire to go there in our hearts. Prabhupada had this maxim, go back home, back to Godhead. Everyone's heard of this maxim. Yeah? We have the Back to Godhead magazine, right? So this is a common theme, it's a common topic, but what does it actually mean to go back to Godhead? What is Godhead? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do you do there? What do you not do there? So, what is Krishna like? We chant Hare Krishna. Yes, so many of you put your hands up. Many of you are chanting Hare Krishna regularly. So this mantra is a beautiful mantra. But who is that Krishna? Who is that Krishna? If you are approaching, sometimes when we're distributing books on the streets, we meet people of many different faiths. The other day I was in Vancouver, and I stopped a young man, and I gave him a Bhagavad Gita in his hand, and he said, "I'm Muslim." I said, "No problem, this is for everyone, it's a science." And then he turned the book at the back, and he saw a kind of silhouette in the top of the Bhagavad Gita. There's a silhouette of Narayan. And he said, is this about idol worship? He said, this looks like it's idol worship. I said, no, sir, this is ideal worship. Yeah? This is, according to ancient scriptures, ancient teachings, this worship is taking place. So, other faiths, they do not give any insight into the name, form, qualities, pastimes, associates, and abode of the Lord. In fact, they shun these things. They fear these things. You mention a form of God, and they say this is heresy, which is not allowed. Because, anyway, I won't get too much into it. That's not really the topic for today, and we have limited time. But we have so much fortune because we have so much insight into Krishna, the person. And so really the topic of today and the topic of these books is to really help us to understand, see, feel and experience Krishna in our lives. I grew up in a Hindu family. So I had Krishna from a young age, from 0 basically. My mother always talked about Krishna. Yeah, she was reading Bhagavad Gita, she was reading Prabhupada's Krishna book and so many other things, and always talking about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. And this installed in my heart that Krishna is a nice person and he's my friend. And this is why in 1969, as early as 1969, just a few years into the movement, Prabhupada summarized the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. So the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the essence of all literatures, is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the 10th canto. So Srila Prabhupada provided a summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of the Krishna book, so that devotees could have an insight into Krishna. So when you're chanting 3 names of Krishna, or Radharani Krishna, Hare, Krishna and Rama. Who are these personalities? What do they do? So when you chant Krishna, then the mind should be filled with Krishna's form, his pastimes. What does he do? His nature, his qualities. So that is why Srila Prabhupada provided the Krishna book for the Krishna consciousness movement, so that devotees could learn more about the Krishna that they're dedicating their lives to. And in pursuance of that, to further that aim, these books have been written to establish Krishna, to help devotees to learn more and understand more about Krishna, to help devotees to become more attached to that wonderful, wonderful person, Krishna. Can we go to the next slide? Hoping it'll work. Yes. If we continue a little bit, yes. So Srila Rupa Goswami established or talked about 64 limbs of devotion in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. 64 main activities which help to evoke devotion. Actually, the limbs of devotional service are unlimited, but he described 64 as being particularly effective. And of those 64, he says 5 are the most potent. So those 5 are: number 1, serving the devotees, sadhu sangha, and then chanting the holy names, and then hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, so daily nityam bhagavata sevaya, and then worshipping the deity. So there's many ways to worship a deity. You don't just have to be a brahmana. Of course, brahmanas can go on the altar, they can offer bhoga, they can bathe and dress the deities, they can rest them and wake them up in the morning. So many different activities that brahmanas are able to do, but everyone, brahmana or non-brahmana, is able to worship the deity by glorifying them, by looking at them and seeing how beautiful they are, by meditating on the limbs of Krishna. They say lust is removed from the heart. By dancing before the deity. Deity worship is so many facets to it. And then finally, Mathura Vas, to reside in Mathura, to reside in Vrindavan. Does this mean that we're in the wrong place? We're all sitting here in Seattle. We should all go to Vrindavan. We should all catch a flight, sell up, take all your money and live in Vrindavan. Is that correct? Is this what Mathuravas means? Such our acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, they describe that Mathuravas means to reside in Vrindavan in consciousness. Sthane stitha, stay where you are. Carry out your duties, whatever they may be. But to be in Vrindavan in consciousness. How do we be in Vrindavan in consciousness? So many duties, so many things you have to take care of. Working, family life, friends, extended families are there. And then on top of all of the responsibilities, the pressures, we have to be residing in Vrindavan in consciousness. It's not an easy thing to do. And I'm sure many of you in the crowd have practical experience. It's not an easy thing to do, to be residing in Vrindavan, to be thinking of Krishna, his pastimes, his associates. But this is our task. This is what we must do. Some devotees may think that brahmacharis have it easy. And in one sense we are very fortunate because our focus, or at least we have the morning hours, where it's compulsory. Get up in the morning, temple room, Mangalarti, japa, and undivided attention. Unless one is heavily involved in management, and even then it shouldn't encroach on japa, morning program. So there's that facility. However, then we have busy days. For example, we're going out to distribute books on the streets. How do I think of Vrindavan when I'm on the streets? I was in Vancouver the other day. We went down Granville Street, if anyone's ever been there. And it was hellish. Hellish place. I thought Canada would be very nice. I didn't get a very good impression in Vancouver. It was so many drug addicts, so many homeless people, so many people drunk. It was like just after a war, people laid up on the floor, So amongst all of this, to reside in Mathura, to reside in Vrindavan, this is our task. How do we do this? And it's a real thing. We have to really do this. It's not just a nice ideal or a theory, but this is something we have to practically apply in our lives. We have to attempt and endeavor seriously to be in Mathuravas. Next, please. So, some of you may have seen some of these books before. So these books are by His Holiness Shivaram Swami. Who's heard of Shivaram Swami? So some of you. He doesn't come to America, so that's why many of you probably wouldn't have met him. But he resides in Hungary, ISKCON Hungary. He's, of course, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, initiating guru. He was GBC for almost 40 years. But he's now retired from the GBC, and he's focusing on writing. And he's written various books which really attempt to and aim to instill this Vrindavan consciousness in the hearts and minds of the devotees. So these various books that he's written in the past 20, 25 years. And now we present Navavraj Mahima. So you'll see this set of books just on the side here of the temple room. It's a beautiful set of books, very high quality in terms of its design, the print, the binding, the paper, the gold leaf, the artwork. Like Prabhu was saying, it's very, it's top notch, but very rich. But most importantly, the contents. If we continue. Yes. So it's 9 volumes. And it's 6,000 pages in total. 6,000 pages about Krishna in Vrindavan. So the first 6 volumes comprise 1,000 pastimes of Krishna. these pastimes don't involve the tattva behind the pastimes. So in Krishna book, there's a mix of rasa and tattva, the pastimes alongside the tattva which underpins them. In Navaraj Mahima, Maharaj has written just pastimes, and then in the appendices, he's explained some of the tattva which goes behind the rasa. But the pastimes is just pure pastime. So it's very beautiful. It's very good for adults as well as children. So it's very accessible to all. And you'll see inside the books that each paragraph is only 3 lines long. So there's not too much information in one go. So it's very approachable. There's 400 new pieces of artwork. Beautiful pieces of artwork. You'll see some at the end of the presentation. And just so there's 6 volumes of pastimes. Volume 7 is all about the Gayatri mantras. Volume 8 is the Maha Mantra. It's 800 pages on the Maha Mantra, giving deep insight and inspiration to chant nicely. And then Volume 9 is a book of maps of Vrindavan, so that your parikram can be informed by the pastimes that take place in the hundreds and hundreds of different pastime places that we see in Vrindavan. Yes, so there's 1,000 pastime places which are described. Beautiful pastimes, many that I had never heard before. So these are taken from the writings of the acharyas and other great personalities. So it's the most extensive modern day description of Vrindavan Parikram. Yes. And this is the essence, to delve into the transcendental abode of Krishna. This is what we must do. This is Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we end up becoming the International Society for Anartha Consciousness. But we must be the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So these books are saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And they're firing Krishna and Vrindavan into the heart of the reader. Yes, please. So how did these books come about? What prompted it? I mean, it's quite an undertaking. 6,000 pages. What inspired the writing of these books? So New Vrajadam. So these books are called Nava Vraj Mahima. Why is it not called Vraj Mahima? What is Nava Vraj Mahima? So these books were written in response to a farm community which is 2 hours south of Budapest. It's called Nava Vrajadam or New Vrajadam. Everyone is very much welcome to come and visit. It's set in 800 acres of land. There's 70 cows, organic farming. We grow 15 different types of vegetables, 6 or 7 different types of fruits. There's bees for honey and parrots and so many other projects going on. But alongside that, the land was bought, and over time, Maharaj the attempt is to establish Vrindavan in this 800-acre tract of land. So Srila Prabhupada gave various instructions. He said, for example, he established New Vrindavan. He established Gita Nagari to be farm communities. Actually, he wanted all of our temples to be embassies for the spiritual world. Prabhupada says, so that people who have not forgotten Krishna can come. They can associate with devotees and they can re-enter Vrindavan consciousness. So this is a function of our temples. And the farm communities have a similar function. And actually it's to recreate the Vrindavan atmosphere. Because you step 1 foot outside of the temple and you see lots of cars, people rushing around. The whole energy is different in cities. But the farms are much more in the mode of goodness. And actually this is why Prabhupada established farm communities so that devotees could actually live as if they were in Vrindavan, in Krishna consciousness. The deities are the center. The more the deity is worshipped with pure devotion, the more the Dham manifests. The deity and the service to the deity, the degree to which the deity of the Lord is worshipped in pure devotion, to that degree the temple, the environment, the atmosphere becomes surcharged with spiritual energy. So, same in New Vrajadam, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar are really the center. They're beautiful deities, and when worshipped in pure devotion, the Dham manifests more and more. So Srila Prabhupada instructed, for example, that Bhaktivedanta Manor. Has anyone been to Bhaktivedanta Manor? Okay. It's a wonderful place. New Gokul is the official title Srila Prabhupada gave it. It was donated by George Harrison of the Beatles in 1973 to the Krishna consciousness movement. I stayed there that's where I really began my practice of Krishna consciousness. And I stayed there for 10 years as a brahmachari. And Srila Prabhupada instructed that in Bhaktivedanta Manor, 600 pastime places should be established, so that people can go and they can visit Vrishana, they can visit Nandagram, they can visit Umrao, Javat, Govardhan Hill, River Yamuna, Kaliagat, all of these wonderful places of pastimes. They can go there, they can remember these pastimes and enter into Vrindavan consciousness. So with this instruction in mind, Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj established New Vrindavan, New Vrajadham, and established 600 pastime places around New Vrajadham. So then devotees were wondering, okay, where am I? And what happens here? So then Maharaj thought to write a parikram guide. He planned it to be 100 pages, just to describe, okay, this is this place, this is this place, and these are the significant pastimes that took place here. But the book expanded. If we go to the next slide, the book expanded from 100 to 300 to 500 to 1,000, 2,000, and eventually 6,000 pages, describing Vrindavan Parikram or New Vrajadham Parikram. The two are the same, because the idea is that New Vrajadham is a replica of Vrindavan. The same pastime places are there. It is an embassy to the spiritual world. So that's the concept. So that's why this is called Nava Vraj Mahima, the glories of New Vrajadham, which is equal to the glories of Vrindavan. So that is how Nava Vraj Mahima came about. The book is dedicated, Maharaj writes, to those Vaishnavas for whom the path of pure devotional service is everything. Pure devotional service, what does it mean? It means to serve Krishna wholeheartedly without any desire for oneself. Anya bilashata shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti ruttama. So no desire for karma, no desire for jnana, no desire for mystic yoga, no desire for oneself, simply to serve and satisfy Krishna. And there's a very wonderful taste in this. So Maharaj says that his hope is that New Vrajadham, and therefore Nava Vraj Mahima, which is the glories of that place, will inspire sincere souls to make Goloka their goal. Of course, everyone will say, who wants to go back to Godhead? Yes, that was a very enthusiastic hand. Who wants to go back to Godhead? Yeah. Who doesn't want to go back to Godhead? Okay. So everyone wants to go back to Godhead. Everyone wants to go to Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah. But when we look at our lives and in our heart of hearts, how much do we really, really want it? If I put a chocolate cheesecake with dripping caramel and strawberries on top, or I don't know, pizza, I don't know what your favorite, or dosa, masala dosa, whatever your favorite dish is, you want this. You want this item. If I put a Jaguar in front of you and say it's free, you can take it, you want it. How much do we want Goloka? How much do we really want to love Krishna? How much do we really want to go back to Godhead? Really, really want. Desire in the heart. Srila Prabhupada's movement is littered with these indications. that this is what we have to grow and develop in our lives. For example, in the morning prayer, in the Mangalarti, in the morning program, we say in Tulsi Arti, we say, "Ei nivedana dharu sakhira nugata koro." Please answer my prayer. Make me a follower of the cowherd damsels of Vraj. This is the earnest longing which Krishna Das is singing. And Prabhupada included that in the morning program. When his godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math found out that he was including this Tulsi Arti in the morning program for his Krishna consciousness movement, they were very surprised, and many were very critical of Prabhupada because they said it's too high. It's too high. But Prabhupada included these prayers nonetheless, despite the criticism, because he wanted us, he wants us, he's ever present, he wants us to develop these desires. How do we develop these desires? Okay, we can say the words. Arana koriho mane asha, we say to Prabhupada every morning. We can say the words, but these have to become the reality of our hearts. These words have to become the reality that we're living. How to do that? We have to continuously try. Of course, it's based on good spiritual practice, good reading and chanting attentively and hearing about Krishna. By hearing about Vrindavan, by hearing about Krishna and his wonderful, endearing nature, his characteristics, his likes, his qualities, his dislikes. By hearing about these things, we become more and more attached to this person, to this Krishna. And him and his service becomes more and more a desire within our hearts. And therefore we have to hear about Krishna. Hear. Again and again and again, constantly as we can. We have to hear, meaning hearing means shravanam. And that includes reading. Hearing and reading are part of the same process called shravanam. And we have to connect with Krishna in this form as much as possible. In order for that desire to be watered, Chaitanya Kaviraj Goswami says, Shravana Kirtana Jale Karila Sechan. He's the Mali, he's the gardener. And he's watering the creeper of devotion. Through, what is the water? Shravana Kirtana. Yeah? Hearing and chanting about Krishna. This is the water which nourishes our creeper of devotion. Please continue, Prabhu. So, the final quote, I dedicate this book to those whose hearts are devoted to Radha Shyam Sundar. Yeah? So this is the goal of our lives. Yes. So these books, we mentioned that the quality is very high, it's very rich. The production process, a lot of effort and energy went into producing these books. Maharaj spent 5 years where he put aside many other responsibilities in management to disciples and vision for his projects and so on to write these books. He spent 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 5 years, absorbed in writing these books. He studied 2,000 books. So a lot of effort and energy went into this. These are some pictures where Maharaj is at the printing press. So the printing press is in Budapest. He has one printer who he's printed his books with for the past almost 30 years. His first book was in 1995-6. And he prints with the same person. Because he's there in Budapest, he can oversee every step of the printing process to make sure it's exactly as he wants it to be. And he likes things to be a very high standard. So he oversees every step of the process in intricate detail. And these are some pictures when the books actually began to be produced. So it was really after 5 years of hard work, when you actually see the finished product in your hands, then there's a lot of satisfaction. But also it did Maharaj a lot of it created a lot of health issues for Maharaj also, because imagine sitting down 12 hours a day, every day, when you're in your mid-60s. It caused him many issues, and actually soon after he was in hospital for a lengthy period to deal with some of these issues for 5 weeks. At one point he was in hospital, unfortunately. The art is exquisite. I mentioned there's 400 new pieces of art. So Maharaj has an art department in Hungary, and it's called a Radhe Shyam Art Studio. 5 artists. They spent 4 years, again very intensely absorbed in producing the art in this book. Maharaj was correcting and training and guiding them, had been for a long time before, and continues to train and guide these artists to become more and more expert in drawing and painting of Krishna and Vrindavana. They're detailed, they're intricate, take a lot of thought and planning. And it's interesting, you learn so much about Vrindavan, and some of the things just blow your mind. For example, I remember reading, and the quote is here, that, we have 3 primary colors. And this is all we know. And we think this is wonderful. And you can mix these primary colors and make various different shades. But in Vrindavan, a new color is produced every day for the pleasure of Radhe Shyam. We're so limited. Our material conception, our mind, our eyes, our faculties are so small, so limited, so tiny, and we think we have it all. We think everything's okay. We think we know it all. But Vrindavan is another realm. In some sense, Vrindavan is ordinary. It looks a little like our material world. There's trees, there's floor, there's animals running around. All of these things are there. But Vrindavan is very, very special. It's ordinary, but that ordinariness covers a very special, it's Chintamani Dham. It covers a very special element, magic. Every day a new color is produced for the pleasure of Radhe Shyam. Every morning and evening, Radhe Shyam are given a new set of clothes. They never wear the same clothes again, twice. Every day, morning and evening, they receive a new set of clothes. And they give their existing clothes, which they've worn once, to their servants. Like that. It's another realm. And we have to enter into this realm in our lives. We have to learn how to enter that world. And when we enter more and more into that world, then we come more and more to the realization that this world that we're living in is very inferior, that we don't belong here, and we don't want to be here ultimately. We carry on with our duties, of course. That's natural. That goes without saying. But I don't actually want to be here. I really want to be there. And that desire is something that we have to cultivate in our lives. The artists were mesmerized, they were absorbed, 4 years spent, in the artwork for these books. So Krishna Prabhu, he's the head of the art department, and he says that they dream of Krishna. Every night now, after spending so much time absorbed in this art, they dream of Krishna. Yes, so Srila Prabhupada said that if you read Krishna book before you sleep, then what will you do? You'll dream of Krishna. Yes, so if you Radha Neelamadhav. Shri Radha Neelamadhav ki. Shri Tangna Balde Subhadramai ki. Shri Gaurnitai ki. Sitaran Lakshman Human ki. So dreaming of Krishna. You hear about Krishna, you see wonderful art of Krishna. They say a picture says 1,000 words. We see some of the pictures, beautiful pieces of art. If you remove me. Beautiful pieces of art. Here in the top right, Krishna is putting his head on Srimati Radharani's feet. When Jayadev Goswami heard this, Smarala Garala, he was being dictated to by Krishna writing Gita Govinda. We won't go too much into it. He was being dictated to by Krishna. Then he heard that Krishna is putting his head on Srimati Radharani's feet. He got confused. How does this work? How is it that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can put his head on the feet of his servant? How does this make any sense? Which other religious tradition will talk about God putting his head on his servant's feet? But this is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So even Jayadev Goswami got confused. So he didn't write it, he scratched it out. Then he went to have a bath. And in the meantime, Krishna came as Jayadev Goswami. And his wife said, "You came back quickly." And he came, sat down, and he rewrote the line that was scratched out. He rewrote it. And then he went away. Anyway, longer story. He went away, and then the real Jayadev Goswami came back, and he saw that it had been rewritten. Then he understood, this is Krishna. Krishna's telling me, this is the reality. How is this the reality? It's described. So many beautiful, wonderful pastimes. And one more art. Beautiful pieces of art. Beautiful pieces of art. Yes. So this is the idea, to bring Vrindavan into our home. Because Mathura Vas, we have to reside in Vrindavan. That means we have to make our external environment like Vrindavan as much as possible, because that becomes an impetus to then be in Vrindavan internally. It's difficult enough. We have to make sure that our external environment is conducive to residing in Vrindavan internally. So just looking at the books, at least for me, when I see the books, I think of Vrindavan. Never mind reading the books. So bring Vrindavan home. Family Sangha. Enter the spiritual world through the pages of Navavraj Mahima. Spiritual Sangha for the entire family. Yes, so many times, I know devotees in the UK, for example, and in the evening time, either the parents read to the children when they're about to sleep, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1, 2, 3 pastimes. There's 1,000 pastimes. So it's many. And or in the family, in a group, just reading together. Srila Prabhupada said how to solve issues between husband and wife. Everyone has issues, that's normal. How to solve them, how to resolve them, read about Krishna together. Read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and books in pursuance of those. And like that, it brings a family together. It's bonding. This is the best bonding. So this is an investment in your spiritual life. One thing I was telling devotees, we were at the Sadhu Sangha festival. These books were very popular there. Many devotees took sets. And one thing I was telling devotees is that how much is an iPhone? An iPhone costs $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. I don't know how much the iPhone 14 will be. But this is much cheaper. And this is a real investment in the heart, in the purification of the heart, and in installing Krishna in our hearts and minds. So, yeah, we're encouraging devotees to... I've gone rather quickly. There are many other things that I could say, that I would like to say. But you'll see it's a beautiful set of books. We printed 700 in 2012 sets. Within a year, they were all finished. They were very popular. And then over the years, many devotees have been asking for them. But it's quite an endeavor, a time investment and a financial investment in order to print these books. And therefore, it took quite some time before Maharaj was ready to print them again. But last year, they were reprinted, primarily because Srila Indradumna Maharaj, he said, please print them and bring them to America, because the American devotees need Navaraj Mahima. He really loves these books. During COVID, he did 300 or 400 lectures just based on these books. Vrindavana lectures. Very beautiful classes he gave. And he said, please bring them to America. Bring them to Sadhu Sangha Festival and the rest of America. So that's why we're here. Maharaj doesn't travel. That's why he doesn't come to America. He just stays in Hungary. He goes to the Dhams. And sometimes he goes to the UK because he was there for 25 years. That's why he sent us to just come and share his heart with the devotees here in Seattle. We request devotees to see and to take a set. We printed 300 last year. There are maybe another 70 or 80 sets left of that printing, including what we've done distributed so far. There may be 70 or 80 sets left. So they're going fast. I think as we head down the west coast, these books will finish. So we're encouraging devotees to take them while they can. Many devotees here in Dudum Raj is expressing his appreciation for the books, and Bhakti Charamaj also very much appreciated them, and Srila Radha Maharaj also really appreciated these books, and many others of our senior members, sannyasis and gurus in our movement have really appreciated these books, and I'm sure that those who take them home, I know some devotees already bought them at Sadhu Sangha Festival, but those devotees who do take them home, the online as well as those that are here this evening, will see that it's a very sound investment in your spiritual life. And these can be passed down to the children. Actually, some devotees, they took one set for each child. Because children grow up and they leave home. They have their own homes. And then they need their own set of books. And these won't be in print again. Maharaj is 73. Right now he's writing a new set of books on another topic, on the higher levels of devotion. And his focus is on the artwork for those books, printing those books, and writing those books. And that's really his absorption. He said he won't be printing these anytime soon. So I'm going to end with, this is Radha Shyam Sundar in ISKCON Hungary. They're very, very beautiful. Some of you will be familiar. So this is really, the book is really glorifying them. So I'm going to end with a little video where Maharaj is speaking himself on these books. He produced it for this tour that we are doing here in the US. So it's 7 minutes and then we'll finish there. Sure. We have our the trustee Dhananjay Prabhu, and he is the technical wizard at the back. And shortly we have the video, yes. No worries. So Maharaj is just speaking briefly on the books, on his perspective on having produced the books, and the benefit that they can bring for the Krishna consciousness movement, for the devotees who read them. And it's nice, it's a personal video, and I just wanted to end with that. And after the video, then devotees are welcome to come and take a closer look at the books, and take sets as they please. We ran out of sets at the Sadhu Sangha Festival. We had to ship more in to Seattle, and we will be shipping more into. We head down the west coast. We go to Oregon, to Portland, on Friday, then down to the Bay Area over the weekend, and then next week we'll be down in LA, San Diego, and Laguna Beach, and so on.
There's some technical problem with
Okay.
the audio.
Okay.
So I'll play the same thing here and put it in the microphone.
Uh-huh.
You play the video there. I'll
Okay.
play-
Okay.
So how do I look it up on YouTube? Yeah. Dhananjay Prabhu? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. It's a pleasure to be with you, albeit virtually. I'm here accompanying Ananda Caitanya and his crew to introduce to you Navabraja Mahima. This is a book that I wrote 10 years ago. It's actually in 9 volumes. And its inspiration for me was Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book that I just couldn't get enough of when I first put my hands on it a long time ago. And but since then, I've heard so many other pastimes of Krishna, and I really wanted to be able to make these pastimes available in good quality English to the devotee audience. So I collected 600 of my favorite pastimes, and I put them in this book. It's about the pastimes of Krishna solely in Vrindavan and projected on the canvas of New Brajadam, or Krishna Valley here in Hungary. Therefore the name Navabraja Mahima, the Mahima glories of New Brajadam. It took me 5 years to write this book, and that was 12-hour days, 7 days a week. It's 9 volumes. One of those volumes is a map book. There are maps here of all of the pastime places, coordinates, and along with the coordinates, then you can refer to a summary of the pastimes that took place there, and they will also send you to the pages where those pastimes go on here in detail. As you can see, this book is very beautiful, and it is a very beautiful book. It's printed here in Hungary. The paper on which it's printed is very high quality paper. This is called Paust in Hungarian. I don't know what it's called in English. Onion paper. And there are 600 pictures in the book, so it's very attractive to the children as well. It's the binding itself is not going to fall apart when you read it. The paper is not going to yellow and just sort of dissolve in 10 years. This book is good for many lifetimes, like other books were. It's gold leafed, gold stamped. It's a quality production. My purpose is not to make money. In fact, we subsidize these books. But my purpose is really to be absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. Writing is my bhajan, and I'm trying to share those pastimes and that bhajan with devotees, because I think that this is what Srila Prabhupada really wanted us to do. This book is for all ages. So it's good for children, it's good for adults. It's not a children's book, but it's like Krishna book, minus a lot of the philosophy. The pastimes are pretty straightforward, and there's very minimal philosophy in them. And the books are ISKCON friendly. My target audience is devotees of ISKCON, and so the book is written with references by Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas. Prabhupada wanted us to learn how to love Krishna. He said, I want you to be mad for Krishna. So this is what our Krishna consciousness movement is about. But how do you learn how to love somebody? You have to know them. You have to know about them. And how do we get to know about Krishna? We have to hear about him. We don't yet have the eyes to see him, but we actually can hear about him from Shastra. And this is what Shastra is really all about. Hear about his pastimes, his beauty, his qualities, his friends, his abode, Vrindavan, the trees, the birds, everything that is actually just made of pure love for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada wanted his followers to write. Yes, of course, our primary books are Srila Prabhupada's books, and then the books of our acharyas. But Srila Prabhupada wanted us to replace all the literature that exists in the world by Krishna conscious literature. And our family business is book printing, book writing, and book reading. So I'm doing this as a service to Krishna. I hope I'm doing this as a service to you and your family. And my desire really is that you have a set of these books in your bookshelf and that you also get to read them. This is the second printing of Navabraja Mahima. We had a first printing of 700 volumes. They just went in 1 year. We ran out of books, and then all of a sudden devotees became mad to get some more. Okay, so here they are now. And we've actually never really had any presentation of this book here in the United States. That's why Ananda Caitanya is there to make this set of books available to everyone. After this, there will not be a third printing for a long, long time. I'm writing on Vilapka Samanjali. The first volume of that is going to be out at the end of this year. It's a 5-volume production also. So you won't be seeing this book for a long time. Therefore, please purchase one now. We've gone to a lot of effort to actually make it available. Hare Krishna. Thank you very, very much. And come visit us here in New Brajadam, see what it's all about.
Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nittai Gaur Premanandi. Thank you so much, everyone, for your kind attention. I hope you found it somewhat nourishing, and I hope you'll find the books nourishing also. Hare Krishna.
Enlightening us and introducing to this book, this wonderful book by His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. So devotees, if anyone want to buy this book, please contact Prabhuji and 2 of his associates. So our dear Yashod Dulal Prabhu, he has asked for one set. He's not here, but he's probably listening online. Yeah. How long you are here?